Welcome. I'm Rachel,
And I'm Amanda.
and this is episode 18 of Books and Bingos. This week we'll be sharing some new releases coming in the month of August. So, Amanda, August is always back to school time for us, right?
Yes, I have mixed feelings. Like, of course, like obviously any teacher, we want more time off, but it's always nice to have the routine of going back to work, being back in, the day-to-day of it. So, definitely a mixed bag. What about you?
I completely agree. I definitely think the schedule and the structure is good for me, but it's so hard to give up the free time, you know?
Yes.
I can't imagine anybody, no matter how much you love your job, wants to go back to work after vacation. That's just crazy.
Right? Right? I know.
Correct. But at least we have books to go back to, right?
Yay! My favorite.
So tell us about your first pick.
So my first pick is We Are Big Time by Hena, and it's illustrated by Sophia Zuroji. It is a middle grade graphic novel. It follows Aaliyah, who is not excited to move from Tampa to Wisconsin because it's very cold and obviously everything's new, messed up her whole schedule of life. But after she tries out and makes the girls' basketball team, where everyone made it, by the way, she starts to befriend the other girls on the team, and her new coach ends up making her a co-captain. She is only a freshman, so this causes a lot of ripples in the team because her other co-captain is a senior, and it makes it kind of difficult for them to co-captain together. But as the team starts getting better, they start to get noticed by like news crews and they're being interviewed. But most of the questions seem to focus on their Muslim religion rather than their basketball skills. So they're trying to block out all of that noise and play the game that they love together. I loved that this was inspired by a real all Muslim girls basketball team and how the story teaches kids about how to be a good teammate, a good player, great student because they have to keep up with their studies, and just like how to be a good winner and loser and like an overall kind person. Definitely one for working on empathy and those skills. It has content warnings for microaggressions, Islamophobia, racism, and anxiety. The squares that it would work for would be new release, sporty, and it is a comic book, graphic novel, so it would fit in that one as well. This one releases August 6th.
Well, that sounds like a great one to have on the shelf. It's hard to learn how to be a good winner and a good loser, especially when you're young.
Absolutely. And I feel like so much focus is on the outside things, like external factors, such as like parents with expectations and schools and all of that stuff. It's hard to just focus on the love of the game and having that just a good experience. I feel like so many times our young kids are like, you're going to play professionally. So you need to start doing this at 5 years old or however old. So it was nice to see, to read about girls, in sports that are playing for the love of the game.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, my next one's in a completely different direction. It's a nonfiction called Go to Hell by Erika Engelhaupt. It's an adult nonfiction from the author of Gory Details, which I will be recommending on a future show because I absolutely loved it. So as soon as I saw this ARC available, I snatched it right up and I have been enjoying it ever since. She writes for National Geographic, so it is a little bit more on the sciencey side of things, but basically the idea is to explore destinations that are either portals to hell, like the seven gates of Guinea and New Orleans. There's basically like a cemetery pattern that you have to go to get through the gates. There's also St. Patrick's Purgatory in Ireland. One of them was even this little space they had under a building. I don't remember how it came to be there, but it was actually filling up with, I think it was carbon dioxide, and that was what was making everybody sick and all the animals die. But of course, back in the day, before they know about carbon dioxide, they think it's some portal to hell, essentially. She also talks about hellish places on Earth, like Pompeii and the Dead Sea, and also some otherworldly locales like the Cave of Crystals in Mexico and Deception Island, which is an island off Antarctica. The one closest to me that she mentioned was Hell, Michigan. Surprisingly, it sounds family friendly. They really dug their heels into the idea of a tourist area of Hell, Michigan. You could even, I think, send postcards, and of course, all the bumper stickers of going to Hell. The closest one to Amanda, which I was excited to tell her, is called Bracken Cave in San Antonio, and it is full of bats. And they said that you should not walk into it because it has probably at least 70 feet of bat guano on the bottom. So,
Ew.
Amanda, don't walk
Ew.
in the cave.
Done.
It's supposed to be pretty awesome to see like all of these bats fly out all at once or flying back in. So, if you get a chance and you're not terrified of bats, go check it out. It has trigger warnings for death and danger and violence in some of these places and just like natural areas that could be harmful. Like some of them are centered around volcanoes. Obviously, there's some danger associated with that. This would work for squares of a 2024 release. Out of Doorsy, I would say a beach read. I would love to have read this on the beach. Book settings you like to visit. I wanted to go to like half of these places. Lake setting, a lot of them featured some sort of body of water, and I would say hot climate setting would work as well. This is out August 13th. I highly recommend it. I love how Erika presents this scientific information in a way that's fun to read, but also it doesn't make me feel like an idiot. So, highly recommend it. Go check it out.
That sounds awesome. In particular with bats, though, when I think of bats, like in our area, Austin is the place that everyone normally watches at because like they'll go on this bridge in Austin and you can see like right at dusk all the bats will fly out from underneath the bridge. And like I think even their hockey team was like the Ice Bats or something. So it's like very big Austin. So that's why I thought you were going to say Austin and not San Antonio. So that's
I may be
interesting.
mentioning that in a future episode, so keep
Oh,
it
okay.
in
Okay.
mind.
Jumped ahead on you there. That's
Yeah.
but no, that one sounds great. My second one is Full Shift by Jennifer Dugan and Kristen Seaton. I guess I must have been on a graphic novel kick this month for new releases because I absolutely loved this one. It is a queer supernatural YA graphic novel about a girl werewolf who would do anything to be human. Tessa is struggling to fit in at school and home ever since her younger sister got to transition to a werewolf before her. She now acts like the older sister in the equation, bossing her around, telling her what to do, just feeling very superior. And Tessa is also crushing on her friend Maddie, and Mac, the man that replaced her dad after his death, is not her father, no matter how hard he tries. And it was actually really kind of sweet to see how much Mac did try to fill that void in her life. She is unable to fully transform on her own when she wants to. And so Tessa really thinks that being human would be better. Like, let's just get rid of this werewolf nonsense and just be human. When she hears of another pack who has a cure for being a werewolf, she thinks all her problems are solved. But the pack may have nefarious intentions, and it's up to Tessa to protect those she loves. I really actually was surprised how much I connected with the characters on this. I actually teared up at the end reading it. I wish I read this as an e-arc. And so when you get digital arcs, especially with graphic novels, sometimes the color palettes aren't as bright as they are in person. So I wish I was able to see like the illustrations a bit better. But what I did see was just amazing. And I can't wait for that physical copy to go into my school library. I This is Jennifer Dugan's first graphic novel, and I think that she is going to have a great career with that. She's been doing just YA sapphic romances for a while, and if you haven't read any of those, I highly recommend them. The content warnings for this are violence, blood, death of a parent recounted, and the squares would be LGBTQI plus representation, comic book, because like I said, it is a graphic novel, a new release, romance, outdoorsy. There is a lake nearby, so lake setting, and leaves on the cover. This one releases August 27th.
That sounds good. I think I've been seeing that one because now that you're saying it, it sounds kind of familiar. So that's one I need to check out.
Yeah, the cover is definitely very striking. It's like she's turning into a werewolf on the cover, so definitely very well drawn as well. So
So for my second one, I just finished this because I mistakenly read a book that's going to come out in another month. So I had to find another one. And then the one I read was so sad. And I was like, I'm not even going to talk about it. So I read another book. And this one I think I'm ready to talk about. It's called Etc., An Illustrated Guide to Latin Phrases by Maia Lee Chin and illustrated by Marta Bertello. It's an adult nonfiction coffee table kind of book or reference book. And it comes with different phrases that are in Latin with their historical context and illustrations for those. So some of my favorites were Signia Cantio, which means swan song, Omnia Vincent Amor, love conquers all. Memento Mori, most people know is remember you will die. Fortis Fortuna Uvat, Fortune favors the brave. And then Carpe Diem, most of us heard. There's a little bit more to that that translates to seize the day, put little trust in tomorrow. Like I said, a lot of these I had heard, some of these I had never heard at all. Some of them came from historical documents and plays, and it was just really fun to hear some of the historical context surrounding these. Three side notes that I took away. One, they were talking about a poet named Sappho who worked with I think is like a teacher to young girls who was from Lesbos, and that led to the term of sapphic and lesbian. And you know these things I feel like, but sometimes it takes a book to like pull all those strings together and it all makes sense. Another thing that I thought, which I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but panem means bread, which made me think of the Hunger Games, and I was just like mind blown. I think I might have read too much into it, but I thought it was fun.
I
And
would
this
go
was a
there
perfect
too.
book for me. I really like all the Latin phrases. I have a tattoo on my arm in Latin that says in Libris, Libertas, in books, we find freedom. So I really had fun with this. It'll be a great little coffee table book. Trigger warnings for general violence, death, and enslavement associated with the Roman Empire. So nothing current day, but historical violence, death, enslavement. The square it would work for is a 2024 release, and this will be out on August 27th.
I love that. I love your tattoo idea, especially when like they're bookish, right? So, I did not know you had that. I love it. I love that
Yeah, it's
idea.
on my arm.
Ah,
And it's in Latin, so nobody knows what it means.
right? But
Mhm.
we sure will tell them because
Absolutely.
I love that. That's awesome. And as a bonus to this episode, we would like to thank Shannon Whiteley, a ninth grade center librarian in Texas, for being our very first guest host. She will be talking about two new August releases that she loved coming next.
Thanks, Amanda. I'm so excited to be here, and I appreciate y'all asking me to join you. My name is Shannon Whiteley. I am a librarian at a ninth grade campus in the Dallas area. My background, I started teaching middle school and high school English, taught for 12 years before I moved into the library, and this is going into my fifth year as librarian. And even as an English teacher, YA literature was my go-to. It was my heart. It was the thing that I wanted to talk about, and I read with my kids. And so moving into the library just felt very natural for me. Um, in the 4 years I've been in the profession now, I've met amazing people and gotten to work with some of the best librarians in the state, including Amanda. And so now I've been on the TASHAS list, which is TLA's YA award list. I served as a committee member for the first 2 years I was on the list, and this year is my first year as chair, and I've got one more year as chair. So because I'm getting to read all of the YA books as they come out, Amanda thought it would be a great idea for me to come and talk about a few that are coming out in the next month. And so I'm going to talk to you about a couple of August releases. And let's see, I think if y'all are playing bingo, 2024 release is a square. So you can check that one off. The first book I'm going to talk to you today is about it's Sync, and it is Ellen Hopkins' newest book. And Ellen hasn't produced anything in a couple of years. I went back and looked. 2021 was her last book. So we were excited to see that she was coming out with a new novel in verse. And Sync it's heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time. Sync focuses on two twins. There is a boy named Storm and a girl named Lake. And they were born into a very dysfunctional family. Their mom was an alcoholic and pretty abusive. And so at a fairly young age, Lake and Storm get taken from the home and put into the foster care system. Initially, they're in foster care together, and they actually get into a family that is amazing and loves them and cares for them. But when that family's dad gets transferred to another state, Lake and Storm are still wards of the state of California is where they live. And so they cannot make the move. And so they end up having to go back into the system, which actually ends up pushing them into two different homes. So that's where your real first heartbreak comes from, is these two twins who have loved each other and supported each other through all of these awful circumstances and have really been each other's support system now get divided. Both of them go into situations that actually are fairly stable from the beginning, but then tragedy strikes in both situations, and their lives just kind of take some unexpected turns. Storm gets placed with a family where he's in school and he's doing pretty well. He does have a temper issue, which has caused him a little run-in with the law here and there, but nothing overwhelming. He actually has a girlfriend. They're in love. They're doing great. And then there's an incident with his girlfriend that Storm's not there. He finds out about it, and his reaction causes his anger to explode in a way where he gets crossways with the law again. And it's a circumstance where he let his anger control him and took the law in his own hands. And so he ends up dealing with the legal system again, we'll just say. Meanwhile, Lake is with a different family. She's doing okay. She's a very conscientious student. She's determined to kind of educate her way out of the system. And life is okay. She's in a foster home with Parker, who is another young woman who's in the foster care system. And they start having a relationship that when their host family finds out about it, there's issues and questions there. And so now Lake kind of has to decide, is she going to prioritize the relationship or the stability of the family that she was with? And so her life takes those unexpected turns. So throughout the whole story, Lake and Storm always love each other. They do lose touch with each other because they don't have like phones and all of the things that kids kind of take for granted. But you know, they never lose their love for one another and their hope that one day they'll be reunited and find that sync again. So that's where the name of the book comes in. Loved this book. It's an Ellen Hopkins, so it is a bit of a lengthy read for a novel in verse, except that there's so much going on and you love these characters so much that the reading feels like it doesn't take any time at all. And I just really recommend it. There are, because it's dealing with foster care and some abuse and some things like that, there's a lot of trigger warnings. So you can check Ellen's website for all of them, but it does include some homophobia, there's sexual assault, there's definitely homelessness and poverty and issues with that. But if you've ever read Ellen Hopkins before, you definitely want to check it out. If you've never read her before and this interests you, it's really a fantastic read. A couple more bingo squares we might could check off for you on this one. It is a New York Times bestselling author, and it does deal with LGBTQIA plus issues. And then this book will come out on August the 27th. So look for it in your local store.
I'm so excited to read this one. I am, and it's funny, we have a mutual friend, Deb Zeman, who read it and got to interview Ellen at TLA at our librarian conference in April, and it just made me want to read it even more, but I have not prioritized it. So I think I definitely need to make that a priority in my life. It sounds amazing.
Definitely.
What is
listening to Ellen's interview at TLA also made me be like, I have that book at home. I think I'm going to check it out.
Definitely. Okay. And what is your second book?
So my second book today is called Death at Morning House, and this is by our friend Maureen Johnson. I do have a little beef with Miss Johnson because she left Stevie Bell, her 9 Liars, Truly Devious series. If you're familiar with Maureen Johnson's mysteries, she has the Truly Devious where there's already 5 books out. And if you love that series, you love Stevie Bell. And her boyfriend, David, had moved to London, and Stevie in 9 Liars goes to see him on an adventure. And I don't know if you're a Swiftie, Amanda, but Taylor Swift has this new book, this new song out called The Black Dog, about having her boyfriend at a pub, and she knows he's there and he doesn't know she knows. And I feel like that's where Maureen Johnson left Stevie in the end of, she's sitting in the pub and what's going on. And I don't think that's a spoiler, but I do think that we all want to know what's going on with Stevie and David.
Yes.
So she took a break from the Truly Devious series, and now she's releasing another. It's still a murder mystery. It's still in the Maureen Johnson wheelhouse, if you're a fan. It's even kind of a dual timeline. There's an old mystery that needs to be solved and a new mystery that's going on. So both of those are fairly loyal to her style, if that's something you like. And if not, this is a great way to jump in because it's a standalone. So you're not committing to a full series. Death at Morning House is the name of this book, and it's going to be coming out on August the 6th. So of my 2 books, it actually comes out first. And let's see, this one follows a girl named Marlo Wexler, and Marlo has, like, at the beginning of the book, one of the most disastrous first dates you've ever known, complete with like burning down a house, because that's what happens on really bad first dates. She has a major crush on this girl that she works with at the ice cream store, and so they finally end up going on a date. And like I say, it's bad. Burning down a house is just really never a good look for your first date. And the crush ends up like quitting and moving to a whole nother job. So Marlo is now like, oh, my life is over. My whole summer that I had planned is just destroyed. So she actually gets an offer to go do a different job where she's going to be moving to this private island off the East Coast that has this historical house that from the 1920s and 30s, this really wealthy family, and this is where that second story comes in. But this family had this mansion, and there was a tragedy there that I'll talk about it here in just a second. But anyway, the house is now being opened to the public. So Marlo gets the offer to go move to the island and become a tour guide for the house while it's open. It's just going to be open this one summer. So Marla thinks, sure, let me get out of town and leave all this embarrassment behind. So she gets out to the island, and it's, like I said, it's off the East Coast, and there's like a bunch of little islands out there. And this is just one, but you can see a lot of other ones. And apparently during Prohibition, this is where like the alcohol would come into the United States from Canada. So like it was a pretty famous smugglers run kind of area out there. So there's lots of little alcohols and things. And the only reason that matters is because of this dual timeline and this dual mystery that's happening in the background of Marlo's new life. But when Marlo gets to the island, she meets these other cast of characters that are also going to be the tour guides with her. It's 6 friends that have grown up in the area and grown up together. But Marlo finds out that the only reason she's now able to have this job is because the person that was supposed to be doing her job died back on prom night. Yeah, there was a serious accident on prom night at one of the other nearby islands that you can actually see from Morning House. And one of their friends fell to his death. He fell off a cliff on the island. So now Marlo has come and is filling in for him and taking over this job. So that's mystery number 1, is what happened to the friend? Was it an accident? Was it not an accident? If it wasn't an accident, is one of these other cast of characters that she's now working with responsible for this accidental fall, accidental in quotes, from cliff? So that's going on. Meanwhile, Morning House itself is this mansion that is got all this legend and mystery surrounding it because the Ralston family lived there. They built it. This is the second timeline, actually the earlier timeline. It was a scientist who was incredibly wealthy, and he had adopted 6 children all around the same time and brought them and was raising them on the island. And then one day he marries this celebrity and she moves to the island, and then they have another child. So you've got these 6 kids that are all about the same age. And then when the mystery occurs, they're all, I think, about 17. And then there's the youngest child that's 4. And the mystery that happened for the Ralston family is that the 4-year-old and the oldest child both died on the island on the same day. And you can't figure out, like, again, was this accidental? Was it on purpose? What happened? And you find this out early on. The 4-year-old boy is found drowned in the lagoon outside the island. And then the oldest daughter, Clara, ends up falling from the roof. Did she jump or was she pushed or whatever? So as a result of those 2 deaths, the family is never the same. It never recovers. And they close down Morning House and they move away from the island. So, you know, now you've got Marlo, who's doing these tours. She's learning about the Ralston family. She's also learning about these new friends that she's hanging out with. And can she trust them? Can she not? And so in Maureen Johnson style, it's just kind of a twisty, turny mystery. And I think if you're a fan of hers, you'll really enjoy this one as well. Again, with Bingo Squares, we're talking about the 2024 release, and we're talking about the LGBTQIA. So you could check off both of those. Also, New York Times bestselling author, and it is also set during the summer. So those are some things you can be looking for on your bingo card.
One of the things I love about Maureen Johnson is her ability to interweave like historical fiction into the mystery. Because in the Truly Dubious series, you know, it does take place also in like the 20s, 30s, 40s time, just like this one. So I'm so excited to read that one as well. And you're right, I do have beef. When I saw this one, I was like, oh, yay, a new Stevie Bell book.
Yeah, it's not. I know, it's crazy. I did go on Goodreads and see that she's got Truly Devious #6 listed as a coming attraction. So hopefully she's not going to let us down too much. We're not the only 2 that want to know
exactly what happens.
Where do they stand? What's going on?
Well, 2025 will be that year then. I hope that one comes
better
out.
be. If not, she's going to get a strongly worded email.
Definitely. Oh, Shannon, thank you so much for being a guest on our show, and we hope to see you again because we love having readers on the episodes with us, especially people that are so passionate about reading and literature and students. So thank you so much for sharing these 2 titles with us.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. I was so excited to be here, and I can't wait to see you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And those are our recommendations for the week. We are currently planning themes and guest hosts for season 2 coming in January. So if you have theme ideas or would like to join us as a guest host for an episode, reach out on social media at Books and Bingos or email us at booksandbingos@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again next week when we'll be spotlighting books set in hot climates. Happy reading!